The Biden administration is all set to sign a deal that will allow the US-based General Electric to produce engines for military aircraft on Indian soil. A deal finalising the joint production is expected to be announced during the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit next week. Now, according to reports that have come in, the Indian state-owned Hindustan Aeronautics Limited will produce the engines as a licensed manufacturer. And details suggest that the deal will entail about 80% transfer of jet engine technology by value. Washington maintains strict controls or access that is granted to national military technology to other nations after the US government had given the go-ahead to the General Electric. The two sides have also reportedly reached an in-principle agreement on this deal. While India can manufacture jets domestically, it is keen to get the technical know-how to make aircraft engines. Now, India intends to produce more than 350 fighter jets for its Air Force and its Navy over the course of the next 2 decades. And these could be, of course, powered by the General Electric's engine 414. Now, amidst China's territorial ambitions, Washington is working pretty hard to try and deepen ties with the world's largest democracy and also to strengthen its foothold in the Asia-Pacific region. A broader joint partnership between the United States and India announced earlier this year is also designed to encourage firms to collaborate, especially on military equipment and tech.
Internally displaced as well as exile. Quad Indo-Pacific क्षेत्र के लिए एक
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what, of course, is expected over the course of the next week and also about these deals that are in the pipeline, we're being joined in by my colleague Molly Gambhir, who's joining me live from New York at this moment. And we're also joined in by our guest Gabriel Narendra, who's a former special advisor for Iran at the US State Department. But Molly, let me in fact begin with you. This, of course, is a deal that is being reported which will fructify during the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States next week. What more information do we have on this?
Indeed, Saleh, and in the run-up to that highly anticipated state visit of the Indian Prime Minister here to the United States, we have been hearing the kind of concrete statements when it comes to the commitment that the two sides have shown towards strengthening the partnership and the relationship. Just look at the terms and the phrases that have been used, calling it a springboard to take the partnership to greater and new horizons, and to ensure that the two sides are also taking the partnership across on multiple fronts. When it comes to bolstering that level of commitment, we have this deal, which is of course going to be a significant boost as far as the collaboration between the two countries is concerned. And given the fact that we have been hearing in a level of commitment coming in from the US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan as well, where he spoke about how the deliverables from the Modi visit are not just bullet points on a paper, they are overarching the kind of emphasis that the two sides are laying on removing obstacles as far as defense transfer of defense technology is concerned. And this, of course, is going to be a multifaceted trip. It's going to see the engagement of the two sides on multiple levels, and it is going to be a visit which is going to be watched around the world for the basic implications that the scope of collaboration between the US and India is immense, being the world's two largest democracies.
Absolutely indeed, Molly. Do continue to stay on. And Mr. Narendra, if I can bring you in on this. Now, over the course of the last few decades, the reason as to why India used to purchase a lot of its military hardware from the Soviet Union was because the Soviet Union back then was more willing to share the technology of its weapons. But now the Americans seem to be more willing to share a bit of their military technology. What do you think has changed?
Look, there's some very large geopolitical aspects here at play. Number one, I think, is the fact that Russia has invaded Ukraine, and the United States actually wants to wean India off of buying Russian military technology. We can't just do that by complaining. We know about that. And so we want to actually be active partners and give India technology, help grow India's economy and provide jobs as well to strengthen this military cooperation. The other issue is the pending conflict with China. Look, India is the one nation that has actually fought with China. And if the United States is going to war with China over Taiwan in the next 5 or 10 years, It makes a lot of sense for us to have a very strong Indian military.
Absolutely, indeed, Mr. Narendra. Do continue to stay on with us. And Molly, if I can bring you in on this. Now, this is going to be the first official state visit by the Indian Prime Minister to the United States. Now, as you mentioned, this is a visit that's going to be watched throughout the world, considering just the sheer optics of it. Tell us as to what is planned for the Indian Prime Minister over the course of his visit in the United States.
Saleh, could you repeat that question for me, please?
I get it. It's pretty noisy, windy and noisy where you are. The question that I was asking you, Molly, is this is a visit by the Indian Prime Minister. It is the first state visit by the Indian Prime Minister. Tell us a bit about what is planned during the course of the Indian Prime Minister's visit to the United States.
Right, Saleh, I can't hear you too well, but the sense that I'm getting is that you're asking us about the sentiment on the ground in the run-up to that highly anticipated state visit. It's a maiden state visit of the Indian Prime Minister to the United States, and that in itself tells us about the kind of enthusiasm here on the ground on both levels in terms of the key takeaways, and also about how this is going to be a major boost to the partnership between the two sides. Now, having said that, of course, we've also been speaking to a number of experts in the run-up to that visit who have been talking about how the level at which the US and India are engaging at this point is symbolic of what lies ahead in terms of the world's two largest democracies coming together. As far as multiple spheres are concerned. Now, here in New York, where we are, is going to, of course, be the first leg of the Indian Prime Minister's visit here in the US, followed by Washington, D.C., a jam-packed schedule. In fact, we're very close to the United Nations headquarters here, which will witness the Prime Minister leading the International Yoga Day celebrations on the 21st of June, followed by his engagements in Washington, which, of course, will be a very crucial part in terms of the engagement with the Indian diaspora here as well. And we've been speaking to a number of Indian Americans and who have been talking about how this is a moment that they've been looking forward to for weeks ever since those dates were finalized.
Absolutely, indeed. It's going to be a pretty packed schedule there. And Mr. Narendra, if I can bring you in on this. Now, this is a crucial visit by the Indian Prime Minister, and you said the context of this visit is very important. There is a war that is raging on in Ukraine. Russia is on one side. The United States is, of course, backing Ukraine with the best of its military hardware. The United States and the Chinese are also not getting along very well, which is why the United States wants to increase its partnership with India. But what do you think will be the nature of this partnership between India and the United States in the years to come?
I'm really looking forward to Prime Minister Modi coming and addressing Congress. So what he's going to do is he's going to address 100 senators and all members of Congress. That's 435 members of Congress. It's a massive, massive meeting. And usually in these addresses, the foreign leader who's visiting is going to share his vision for what that could look like. Here's what I think you could see pledging to work closely to have a even stronger military partnership. Also, the economic ties are important. The United States has a lot of advanced technology that we can give to India to kind of supercharge its economic growth. There's a lot of Western technology companies, manufacturing companies that can come in. My hope is that this deal that we're hearing about now is just the start, and that we really supercharge this. Again, there's also a large commercial market in India, 1.3 billion consumers, and there's a hope that the United States can deepen its sales to India, deepen tourism of India. Again, like you said, the two largest democracies in the world, we have a lot in common. We have a large Indian diaspora here in the United States. They're one of the most successful ethnic groups in the country. And so there's a lot of interest in really becoming more than just partners, but becoming really full-fledged allies, I think. And I think Modi's address is really an opportunity to remind Americans that India is there and that we should really double down. A lot of the time we think about Europe or we think about Latin America. Sometimes India is not in our newspapers very often.
Right.
It's not at the forefront of people's minds, and this is an opportunity to change that.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Narendra, and also to my colleague Molly Gambhir for joining us on this broadcast there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.